Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is directed by Gareth Edwards and stars Felicity Jones, Riz Ahmed, Diego Luna and Donnie Yen. This was the first movie in the standalone stories series that Disney is giving us in between our mainline Star Wars films. This one tells the story of the group of rebels that stole the plans of the legendary Death Star that we saw in Episode 4, A New Hope. This film was really interesting to me, as when I first watched it, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was highly intense, action with great characters and a lot of fun to be had. However, I watched Rogue One a handful of times now, and each time it gets progressively worse. You begin to notice the flaws, as there are quite a few within this film. For one, while each character is fun and entertaining in their own right, none of them are given practically any development. We get hints here and there of where we can say what makes these characters who they are, but their backstories are never fleshed out to actually give them motivation to be part of this rebel group. Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones, was a good addition to the Star Wars universe, and I did like her character. Although she had the most development of the whole squad, she really didn't have much depth to her besides the storyline regarding her father, and unfortunately she's just not very interesting as the protagonist of Rogue One. The same can be said for all the characters in the film, especially when you look at the character duo of Chirrut and Baze. They were easily some of the standouts as they were quite funny and their companionship made them very likeable. However, you never find out how or why they are companions and what made their bond so strong, and this was a serious lack of development and a serious question that needed to be answered to give these characters that full arc. Also, Chirrut is apparently a student of the Force, but this is never explained either, so it just seems a bit random. However, the film does have K2SO, so there is that. Now, I feel I'm being far too negative on this film in this review, so let me point out why Rogue One is a fantastic film. For one, that final action scene on the beach planet known as Scarif is phenomenal. The pure size and scale of it's immense. You can just see how epic this is, especially with the reintroduction of the walkers, and we got to see these new versions of the walkers that was very different. Also, the genre here is completely different. I love that Rogue One is not your typical Star Wars adventure flick. Rogue One is a war film. It's dark and gritty and presents us with a Star Wars film we have never seen before, completely different in tone and spectacle. This felt like an adaptation of one of the Expanded Universe stories, which was awesome, as we still haven't received one of those truly, and I'm hoping that maybe we will soon. Also, Ben Mendelsohn as director Orson Krennic was a great villain. I liked him a lot because he was a malicious and violent character, but he was the number 2 acting like the number 1. Instead of him being at the top of the food chain, he is a second to Vader, and he is absolutely terrified of Darth Vader, showing that he will do anything to make sure he stays on the good side. This made him a very compelling adversary for our team. Speaking of Darth Vader, he is not in the movie much, however this was a smart decision as the film should not have relied on the epicness that was the character, and instead just have him as a teaser. The use of Vader was extremely effective. I also do feel extremely bad for Gareth Edwards. He was given absolutely no control over this film. I'm surprised he didn't walk away from the film like Phil Lord and Chris Miller did from the Han Solo movie. He was not given any creative influence over the film whatsoever, and he was forced to put in certain things and then take other elements away, and that's awful. Maybe we could have gotten a completely different movie before he was forced to implement those extensive reshoots into this film, and if this film perhaps would have stuck to its original plan, we would have seen a very different version of Rogue One. Overall, I really enjoyed Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It is by no means a great Star Wars film, even though it does have some great ideas and some fantastic ideas woven in throughout. However, I feel that this film is bogged down by the lack of character development and motivation, and you can clearly see that this is a damaged movie with a lot of scars. It's a very scarred movie, as the reshoots really don't not help the end product after all of the extensive reshoots it went under. Did it help the film? Not remotely. I'm going to give Rogue One, a Star Wars story, a B.